Britain's skilled migration system now welcomes drama teachers, bingo hall managers, and trolley collectors, because apparently, pushing a shopping cart is the new rocket science. While your kids drown in student debt and struggle to find jobs, ministers hand out visas like confetti for roles millions here could do. Welcome to 2025, where common sense has officially left the building.
Jonathan, this is I've just given a handful of those jobs there.
Yes, and it's quite interesting. I think you're quite right. It is very annoying that the British people have been lied to so persistently so long by people like you and GB News. So, for example, you claim diversity and low-paid diversity and inclusion experts on the list. You do know that the job title that you're talking about there is not diversity and inclusion experts. I can see the list. It's a specific job code. It's human resource managers and directors. Do you know what the minimum salary requirement is for that role to get a visa? Do you know?
Well, I believe it's going to be up to £40,000 soon. Am I right?
No, it is already, because it's the going rate already. It's at £50,000. So the idea that these are low-skilled, low-paid people coming in...
Jonathan, you're missing the point. Jonathan, you're missing the point entirely.
Can I try to explain to you? Can I try to explain to you the facts here? Because you've just been, as I say, talking complete nonsense. So in the last set of figures, there were about 70 people who came here as HR managers or directors, all on salaries of over £50,000. Most of them are from either Europe, or the United States, a few are from India. So if you're saying, and the reason that job is on the list is because it requires a degree, it requires a certain level of skill, and it is above the salary threshold. So it's really,
Jonathan, it's quite unfortunate that Jonathan, what skills does a diversity, equity and inclusion... No, I'm not lying. I said... No, I didn't. I didn't necessarily say they were all low skill, but a trolley pusher is a low skilled job, Jonathan. Let's not mislead people.
A trolley pusher is not a job code on the skilled worker list.
It is. Well, I think you should go and take a look at the list again because it is on there. I
have the list in front of me.
It is on there. You should go and take a bingo hall managers are on there too, Jonathan. I'll tell you what, can you just name me one skill that a diversity, equity, inclusion manager has that we need to import it out of Britain to bring them here to the United Kingdom? What skill from abroad, or what skill in this country can we not train?
So you think that for the HR director of GB News, well, maybe they could, since obviously they hire people who, shall we say, are not entirely qualified to do journalism or reporting like you. But
Jonathan, I think you're just being nasty and rude. I've asked you a sensible question and you just can't answer it, can you, Jonathan? Answer the question. What skill does a diversity, equity and inclusion manager have that a British person cannot have in this country? We need to hire from abroad.
I've already explained to you, but you seem incapable of grasping it. The job code is HR manager or director. What qualifications and salary do you think
Jonathan,
the HR director of GB News
Thank you for joining us, Jonathan, but I don't think we're going to get anywhere. You're not answering any of my questions. It's not really an interview. It's just an opportunity for you to bash us at GB News. Thank you for joining us. I'll bring my panel in at this point. I'm joined by some more sensible people, Conservative Party Cabinet Minister Sir John Redwood and Labour Councillor Sebastian Salix. Sir John, I don't mind someone insulting me, but I want to talk about this because I do think this is important. The British people want to understand why a diversity, equity, inclusion manager is a highly skilled person we need to import into this country.
Well, surely you would need the skill in that role that you understood and lived in Britain for a longish time period because you were trying to make everybody feel comfortable in your varied workforce. Now, I'd like to pay tribute to you, Alex, and to GB News for revealing this. As you rightly said, this is a scandal that several of us have been arguing the case that we don't want low wages brought into Britain and people substituted for local people who could get better wages with the right training and the right support. And I'm pleased to see now people in government are taking that up as well. And we're just realising the extent that we had the wool pulled over our eyes because we were told these were rocket scientists and doctors coming in. And we discover that there are hundreds of categories of people that we could easily find at home or could put people in with very limited training because these weren't highly skilled roles. So you've done a great job, and the sooner this government gets on top of it, the better, because we cannot afford all this inward migration. It's depressing wages, and it's giving us a huge housing problem and a huge public service problem.
NHS waiting list through. We could go on. So, look, Sebastian, I want skilled migrants to come here. We do need skilled migrants. We need doctors and real doctors and nurses to come in because we have got shortages and we do need that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have zero immigration. It's because we do need it. Unfortunately, we do need it. We do. But there are some jobs on that list that are just terrifyingly silly.
Well, we've got to look at the reason why the jobs are on the list in the first place. This isn't just somebody sat in a room in government coming up with job titles for fun. This is the government speaking to business and business saying, these are the jobs we're struggling to hire for. So rather than a political question, this is supply and demand. It's market economics. And it may sound ridiculous. Why do we need to import bingo hall managers? But there is someone out there in a bingo hall today saying, where's my manager? I can't hire these people. And that's
Sebastian,
why we need to bring them in.
So
they
ridiculous.
want a cheap manager. That's the scandal here. They shouldn't give in to business like this. You're exactly right. This is what was happening under the last government and probably under this government as well, that the business community said, I'd like to hire somebody. It's a bit difficult. So can I have somebody cheap from abroad? And it went on the list and the department then felt they had to justify and argue that case. And the people in the Home Office trying to say that we don't want all these people were swamped by all these requests coming in from all around Whitehall. And it needs a minister strong enough to say, no, we're not doing this.
And that's what's happening. Fortunately, you've got Yvette Cooper now saying to industries, if you can't put together a workforce plan to train people up, we're going to stop you from being able to hire from abroad. She's also saying it's going to get more expensive, cranking up those levies, because the long term here, the direction of travel has to be giving young people in Britain the opportunity. Of course, we're going to bring in people, but it's about readdressing that balance a little bit and making sure that people have chances here too.
You know, because, I mean, I have to say, I had a comment come into your state, Sir John, and Grumpy Grandad. Oh no, sorry, Jay. We'll get to Grumpy Grandad because he does like to have a pop at us here. He's very, very good. He says, who's to blame for lowering the skilled visa bar? Boris Johnson and Priti Patel. They cut the salary threshold from £30,000 to just £25,600 and even lower to £20,000. I have to substantiate these numbers. But the Conservatives have a really poor record on this, don't they?
Well, of course they do.
The big Boris wave,
I'm not here as a Conservative.
I know, I appreciate that.
I'm here as a commentator, and I was telling the last government they were getting this wrong. I wanted a much higher minimum salary, and also to limit the time you let the scheme run, because you should have a workforce plan, as you're saying. And the one area where they did it, where I was prodding them to do it, was when we had a driver shortage after COVID. This is a classic example where you get lots of cheap drivers from the continent, or you could do something to get unemployment down in Britain and give people better skilled jobs, and also say to the people running these businesses, you've got to pay a bit more. These people don't have a great life. And that actually happened, and we solved the driver shortage in Britain, and we should have done it in lots of other sectors.
Yeah, Sebastian, John's right. Mass migration does suppress wages. It does push up things like NHS waiting lists. We've got a housing shortage. Angela Rayner's banging on about building housing, although I think she said there's enough, and there isn't. But regardless of all of that, 400,000 plus people is a lot of people in 1 year, let alone the million that came under Boris Johnson. Do you think Labour need to be more aggressive at getting that target lower if they want to win the next election? Well,
we're already seeing them really get on it, and this is a big theme we're seeing out of this government, is taking immigration really seriously. The last government, I'm afraid to say, was all about gimmicks. We talked about Rwanda, and nothing happened. A lot of money was spent. Now we're seeing the backlog coming down. That is the really big thing. I mean, we're getting into illegal immigration now and talking about asylum seekers. We should make that distinction. But that backlog was going up and up and up under the Tories. We've now seen it fall by 8% in a year. It's the same with immigration. Labour can't take all the credit for that, because that was some of that under the Tories, but we've seen that number come down.
They need to go further, do you think, Seb?
Well, they are going further. We've had the immigration white paper. There's so much in it in terms of next steps, not only in terms of making it harder to hire from abroad, but also, as I say, forcing to train people up here. So that transition is happening. It's going to take time. There's a lot to undo. You know, there's 14 years.
This is not fair, because, I mean, actually the Conservatives last January of the previous year did get round to making it more difficult to come in, and the Labour government is benefiting from those changes they made. When the Labour government came in, they relaxed it a bit more.
Right.
And Labour were not actually doing more of what the Conservatives were rightly beginning to do. And the Rwanda thing, I mean, the flights were ready to start. It was silly to write all that off, because what was already happening was that we were getting complaints from Ireland